But if you take the time now, in the back of your mind, it's time to build a new program. See, if you start to take all the moments of success, the things that make it worth teaching, the times where you really feel that you're cooking, and realize it's the state of consciousness that produces it, it's when it flows easily and it flows involuntarily. That's when it's able to do those kinds of things. There you go. How you doing, Nick? Good?
Yeah.
You look happy.
I am.
Double that feeling. Not you, him. Think that? Yeah, I know he is. You stay out of our way, okay? That's right. Now, because I know Nick's unconscious has worked with me before. We're old friends, right? And we both want Nick to have a good and wonderful life. And we want him to stop screwing around. You guys should talk. You know. And you, I don't want you talking to him. You make things so complicated. Good heavens, it's no wonder you get headaches. You gave me those strategies you had. Jesus, they're so complicated. You know, me, I just wake up and feel good. That's it. Step one. Right? And then I start looking around and seeing what good things I can do. And when I see them, then I just go do them. I don't make it into a big problem. I don't overanalyze. You see, he's got all these learnings. He's studied so much NLP, and he's taught NLP, and he's done all these things. The knowledge must be inside his mind. He doesn't need to see himself doing it another time. It would be like watching videotapes of yourself teaching over and over and over again. Once is a fucking enough. So you can go through and see the things that you're doing that really aren't working. Sometimes people discover, you know, that they have little habits, you know. I always wonder, like Paul always pulls on his ear, and so I put a good anchor on his ear. I figured as long as he's going to pull on it, I might as well put something good there. You know, so I went up and I said something, and he smiled, and I reached over and pulled his ear. Now when he pulls his ear, he smiles. And I thought, cool, that works. I said, now I'll stand next to him and pull my ear, and the same thing will work for me. Because you see, as long as you program yourself to be successful at the unconscious level, and program yourself to automatically, instead of searching, because you see, like when you work with somebody and you take away a pain, they always then try to see if it's still there. So they start looking for the pain in the place that it was, and usually in a day or two they can recreate it, no matter what it is. There are people who have pain where they have no arm left. So a lot of guys that I worked with in the Vietnam War had lost a limb, and they still had pain in the parts of their body that wasn't even there. But the fact that they had suffered some terrible trauma, which was very painful, they kept imagining, and so they created what's called phantom limb pain. And the more they thought about their arm, because they would always say, I have pain in my arm. They didn't say, I have pain in space where my arm could have been. You know, they said, well, you know, this is going to sound crazy, but my right hand hurts. And they wouldn't have a right hand, it would be gone. And I'd look at them and I'd say, well, you know, the more I look at your hand, the more it's not there. And the more it's not there, the more you don't need to worry about it. And I'd say, can you see your hand? And they'd actually go, well, I can see where my hand is. Or they go, I mean, used to be. But as long as in their mind, they can still look down, the nerves are still going to fire, and they'll still be able to create pain where you don't need it. Like squinting your forehead, that'll always work. Because if you stop and you just relax, and instead inside your mind, you begin to think thoughts about how much fun you're going to have this time. Because you see, the thing is let me dispel any beliefs that you have, which aren't doing you any good. Because the more you don't think about what's not important, the more you won't. And the more you plan in the future to think about things and to plan to be successful. It takes just one good suggestion to overcome unlimited amounts of suggestions that you don't hear, that you don't need. Because once you get the idea inside your mind that you're going to do things easier this time, you might as well close your eyes. That's right. Why fight it? Get the fuck into a trance now. That's right. Go ahead. Your unconscious knows what it needs to do. It's going, let's go do this. Let's go do this. And you're going, but it's not, it's just simply relax. Let go yourself into a deep trance now and just enjoy the process. There's all kinds of learning, and though I may be talking to him, your unconscious is close enough to hear. And if there's something of value, it knows what to do. It knows now once it becomes proactive, because your unconscious processes are passive. When they start to look at where the pain was that was in their hand that's not there, the more they try to find out where the pain is, the more they find it. And the more they think about the trauma of what happened to their hand, the more they feel the trauma. And it's as real as any other pain, because it still has the nervous cortex, it still has all the motor control things. All of those things are still in the brain. But sometimes when something happens, you need to let go. And to me, I always put their hand on where their limb stopped, and I said, it stops here. Because you see, if they really listen inside themselves to their nervous system singing, it will know where to sing and where not to. Because sometimes you vibrate yourself into feeling things are so important, and years later you won't give a shit about them. You know, some things you can do easy, and some things you make hard. You might as well do it the easy way. If you're dreading it, then the time you spend dreading it is always going to be worse than the time doing it. If you just don't fuck around and just do things, if you don't like doing them, don't do them again. It's just that easy. But if you do them half-assed, you'll never know if you really like it. You know, there are some things that you need to do with every fiber of your soul. And this requires only that you change your beliefs about it, so that you make yourself believe that things are true. It don't even have to be. But once you make yourself believe it, once you be able to put it in the same place as the sun coming up, you begin to shift it in your mind. You begin to take that feeling of, I really believe this, and spin it round and round in your body. Then when you do attempt it, you will do it with every fiber of yourself. So you won't dilute the experience, in which case then you miss so much of what's possible and say it's impossible. I don't believe this can be done. You know how many times I've heard that and it's been done? It's just enormous. But most of the time that I spent working with people like that is that they keep getting back to the idea that it's not possible. That they have to shift inside their mind their own belief systems. They need to see enough and hear enough and let their unconscious do enough. Your unconscious now can begin to give you a wonderful new feeling. Start somewhere you don't usually start. Start on the back of your knees. Start on the back of your feet, maybe the bottom of your spine, and make it go electrically up, one vertebrae at a time, such that when it comes up to your head, you can spin it around and down and around again and build it up. You see, you don't need to understand a lot of things with pictures. If you understand them inside yourself, you don't need to think about it no more. You end up wasting time not doing when you could be. The time to think is when you plan. And when you plan, you don't need to plan what you already understand. When you talk about it, it'll come out automatically. Some people tell me, I just can't find the right words. And that's the truth. You can't find the right words, but the right words will come out if you just listen. It's your unconscious process that does the speaking, the kind that works. If you listen to the tone of your voice, if you listen to the words that you use, if you say something you don't mean, then you can correct yourself. But if, on the other hand, you think you can plan how to say things precisely and make it work, communication is about conveying information. And part of that is going to come from the words you use, and part is going to come from the tone, and part comes from what you generate inside of yourself that's in senses that most people don't know nothing about. So all you have to do is believe and trust in those. And when you do, the healer will heal more. The teacher will teach more. The architect will build better buildings when they start to go into those buildings and make it so that they know what it's like to be on the inside and move around, go up and down, try things, turning on and off all the faucets and letting all the things that are there to make sure Because I live in a place where if you reach over to turn the faucet, you smack your head on a cabinet. This architect did not think when he built it. I went in and took the cabinet out because I couldn't put the faucets on the front of the sink. Doesn't work good that way. See, first thing I thought is I'll turn the sink around. And then I thought, nah, I'll just have one less cabinet, because inside that cabinet, all I kept was things to wash the things. So I thought I'll put them in a drawer. And then I was informed you're not allowed to put things like that in the drawer. When my kids were growing up, I kept all the plates and glasses in a drawer next to the washing machine and one next to the refrigerator. And people would come in and they'd go, I want to get a glass of water, is it okay? And they'd open the cabinets and it would be full of other things, right? And they'd go, where are the glasses? And I'd go, they're in the drawer. And they'd open the drawer and they'd go, people don't keep glasses in a drawer. Well, my kids weren't tall enough to get to the cabinets. So it seemed a simple solution. I just put the glasses in a drawer next to the refrigerator, so when you open the refrigerator, the glasses were right there in the drawer. You don't put silverware in the cabinets. Why can't you put glasses in the drawer? Because that's not the way it's done. Well, the truth is if you put the right things in the right place, suddenly you'll have a feeling of confidence so that when you go to do things, you'll just look forward to them. And when you do things, you'll be surprised delightfully about how good they can come out. Because when you trust the force, my son, you'll discover the force within you that makes you want to teach neurolinguistic programming. In fact, the force inside of everybody here that makes them want to do anything is a wonderful thing. And the thing is to make that wonderful force something that becomes so powerful that the idea that you could do a bad job is unacceptable. You just don't think about that. You think about succeeding more. It's not how you see yourself that works. It's how you see the people that you're teaching. Me, I'm looking for the signs all the time. Do they smile? When I say certain things, do they understand? And they hear the phonological ambiguities. The trainer's training this year, where all these people are supposed to know so much, man, I slipped so much by them, they had no idea. But each day they began to hear a little more, and a little more, and a little more. But while they were hearing that, I was slipping even more by. Because I figured as sophisticated as they were, most of them would be analyzing the hell out of what I did, which meant I could do other things and they wouldn't notice. I went, here, analyze this, guys. And while they were analyzing it in their mind, I went around to the back door inside their mind and I went, okay, it's lesson time. See, because I wanted to install inside them the most important thing about teaching is to have it be a sense of adventure. Because you can't plan it out rigidly and have it come out. Some people teach 50 years and enjoy it all. Some people teach 1 year 50 times. You know, they have a lesson plan and they follow the plan. And they wonder why they get bored and they wonder why their students aren't interested. And the thing is knowledge is something that's alive. It's the biggest elemental of all. I believe that everything in the universe is alive in its own way, including information. So if you don't breathe life into it and put it inside of other people, give them the ability to enjoy it. You have to use your eyes and ears and your conscious mind to focus on, are they in the right state? I tell them things and when they laugh, then I pour it in at that moment because I want them to be in a state of enjoyment so they'll memorize it. I put people into deep altered states so that while they're relaxing and their mind is drifting from here to here, from times and places and past memories of things that they thought about and haven't thought about, yet they will in the future. And I know that it doesn't matter whether or not they know just how long this takes. That the whole time, the deeper I go, the deeper they'll go. The more I feel wonderful, the more they'll feel wonderful. Humans influence one another. That's why you have an obligation. Anybody who does teaching who's got a migraine headache better get rid of it so they don't end up sharing it. You see, the thing is even when I'm dead-ass sick, I've had the flu so bad, before I walk in a room to teach, I just get rid of all of those feelings. Put them on hold. I suspend all of that and go into a wonderful state, the state where my perceptions are clearer and clearer, the state where I feel optimistic beyond comprehension. I could never do the things I did if I didn't believe in people's ability to learn. I think the fact that people learn so quickly, they end up learning a lot of nonsense. But it's still the machine that can do the learning, and so therefore, I trust that process. That's what the force is. The miracle that people can learn so much so quickly. The reason I can do it in 5 minutes when it took you 55 years is that I know what the fuck I'm doing. You did it randomly over that period of time. That's why you ended up with a feeling you didn't like. Now it's time to realize that in your future, that's just a one good feeling. Imagine how many good feelings you're not having. You have this marvelous chemistry set capable of generating zillions of good feelings. And some of you have only had 5, right? Imagine all the good ones in between those 5s and all around them. There's all kinds of wonderful states of consciousness. It's as infinite as the universe itself. And if you don't take the time to allow yourself to drift in and just start making good feelings of different kinds, you won't have the foundation on which you'll have to go into the same old fucking state over and over and over again. Take all these fucking pictures and line them up and smash them together and be confused and then wonder why. I mean, excuse me, if they put 8 movies on the movie theater and put them all on one screen, it would confuse the fuck out of anybody, right? But there's nothing wrong with the fact that you learned to do that. Wherever you learned to do that from, it probably made sense. But we don't need to know from where you learned it, and we don't need to know why you learned it, because it doesn't fucking matter. That's right. Your unconscious knows just what I'm talking about. It's time to use a new thing. That's old song, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? My friends all have Ferraris. I need to make amends. You know, Lord, won't you make me a new drug? Well, the best drug of all is happiness, is joy, is exhilaration, and all these other states that you can go in. They come complete with chemicals. And the chemicals are ones you don't have to swallow. They're already fucking in there. You just need to be able to alter your state and to take the best that you've had happen to you in your whole life and make it the foundation of your future. The more you keep going back into crap, the more you'll have crap to take into your future. And it's just a fucking waste of time. No need to worry. If you don't know what to do, then you have to go in search of finding out how to. If there are things about NLP you don't know about, you need to find out the information and put it in. Once you have it in, then you'll know things about how to teach it. Trick is to watch different people do it and find out who does it in a way that works. And if none of them do it in a way that works, then make up another way. I've been quite successful in teaching things like this because I made them up. And the other thing is because I take the work itself seriously enough that I install strategies when I teach people things. So when it's time for them to learn them, by the time I get around to actually teaching them, the mechanism to learn it's already in there. You say, I don't sneak up on you, I've already been there. Just when you think I'm turning around to talk to you, I'm pretty much already done. I put the seeds there, I watered them, I had them grow up, I had all that stuff while you were listening thinking, well, this is very interesting, that poor person. And meanwhile, in the back of your mind, all these things were there. I was laying the foundation the whole time. Because I'm not interested in what goes on in this seminar. Not hardly at all. I'm interested in what goes on in your future. I'm interested as the days and the weeks and the months and the years go by, that everything gets easier and more fun. You know, that you learn the mantra, fuck it, and use it at the appropriate time. That if you're going to go through and you start to do something inside your head that begins to make you feel bad, begins to build fear, begins to build in dread, that all of a sudden something inside you starts to giggle and goes, I ain't going down that fucking road. I tried all that self-fucking loathing, and what a pain in the fucking ass that is. You know how many fucking hours you spent doing that? And just think of all the things you could have done. You could have gone bowling, you know. You could have been having sex, you know. You could have been watching TV. You could have been writing novels. You could have been painting. You could have been writing poetry. You could have been building huge corporations. You could have been creating thousands of jobs for millions of people. Because some people don't stay at their job very long. That's Starbucks, by the way. You know, they're trying to find ways to get people to stay there longer. And, you know, they'd say, we give them health benefits. We thought we had them for life because if they leave, they'll have no health benefits. Then they'll have to go to county hospitals, which is a little bit like your national health care service over here. Harry went in because his finger swelled up and it was infected. 7 hours he had to wait to see a doctor. And they go, oh, that's because these doctors are too busy. Every time I see one, they're just standing around. I went into the national healthcare system here. Paula, before she had her illness, when we were in Brighton one time, got an injury and I brought her in there. I'll never make that fucking mistake again. Now I'm just going to take a net and net a doctor in the parking lot. We sat there for fucking 6 hours waiting to see a doctor. And all I wanted to do is to know if she had broken her ankle or not. Yes, it hurt, but I didn't know if she had broken it. If it was broken, you do different things. Fuck, I could set it faster than that. I just couldn't tell if it was broken or if it was just sprained. And while she's sitting there, she's in pain. She's screaming. Everybody else in the waiting room. There was a woman that fell down who was 90 who broke her hip. And she's sitting there reading magazines, wincing wildly. They had a cart sitting there with a dead guy on it, and they didn't even put a sheet over him. He was just laying there fucking dead, And I said, excuse me, that's not the kind of thing you want to have sitting in the waiting room. That doesn't build optimism into you. You went over there and said, sometimes people are in accidents and they die. Stuff like that happens. But you don't want to really advertise that to everybody who's about to be treated. I went up and I asked the nurse, I said, is there some way you can get the dead guy out of the hallway in there? I said, at least put a sheet or something over him. He's laying there with a fucking toe tag on, And she said, well, I'm sorry, we're short-handed. And I said, I'll take him. Just tell me where the morgue is. I said, I'll take him there. She goes, sir, we have rules against that. What am I going to do, hurt him? Come on, I'm volunteering here. I said, well, I don't think it's a good idea to have a dead guy in the waiting room. And she said, he's not going to hurt anything. Well, that's not necessarily true. The most powerful damage you can do to a human being is to put bad ideas inside their mind. And that includes your own mind. You have to be careful what you put in. Remember, this is the way that systems work. Whatever you put in determines what comes out. You put a bunch of crap in, and then you do crappy things with it, and crappy things will come out, and then crappy things will happen to you. You can't walk around whining, and end up meeting really fun people. Because they won't have fucking nothing to do with you. You'll end up meeting other people who are as depressed as you. Then you have to buy black outfits and horn-rimmed glasses and move to Germany and drink a lot of coffee and recite poetry that's not any good. That's the worst fucking part of it. Life is nothing but a flower that's been smashed. Lord, save me from these people. Because the fact is I know that you can put together ingredients in anything and make something that's not as wonderful as if you put wonderful ingredients in it. You guys don't shit in your food before you cook it. Why would you shit in your life before you live it? Doesn't make a bit of sense. And the more you start to question, and if you start to ask questions, not like what's wrong with me, but going, how can I make each day more exciting? What exciting is going to happen today? If you're looking for it, damn, you'll find it. You go, how are things going to get easier? How am I going to feel better? What part of my body haven't I made feel wonderful yet? Concentrate on that. I work on it. I start with just 2 fingers. Even that, you let your unconscious begin to start with 2 fingers. First, it's just a twitch. Then it's a blink. And then you never know what will happen. And suddenly you'll begin to find out if you do things that things can feel good. You'll begin to discover there is action at a distance. Lord knows I do it all the time. Adios. Hasta la Vega. Then I know that one of the things is that once you start to program yourself to feel better, see, if you constantly look for where you have a pain in the side of your head, you'll always find it. In fact, if you looked on the other side of your head long enough, you could find some there. And if you wondered whether or not your headache is going to come back, pretty soon it will. On the other hand, if you concentrate on what feels good and begin to expand it and focus your attention on making the pleasure spread, then you can go and start to think about things that you used to make difficult. What else did you used to make difficult? Cheating. Surprise, surprise.
That's basically how organised
Gee, I would have never guessed that. So how do you organize your day now?
Basically, I recite what I need to do.
Look at that. He didn't say what I'm going to do. He said what I need to do. Already sounds like it's not going to get done, doesn't it? So you give yourself bad post-hypnotic suggestions. Yes, what else?
I recite as to what I need to do.
Yeah. He didn't hear a thing, did he? Fucking words just went right by him, and that's all there is to it. You recite what you're going to do. That's a whole other thing, isn't it? Try saying it.
I recite what I'm going to do.
How does that feel?
Different.
Yeah, I know it feels different. Does it feel good?
Much more open space to move around in.
Yeah, well, it's also a commitment. Right. See, what you need to do is, you know sometimes when you go in the bathroom and you have to pee really bad, right? And, you don't sit there and go, which urinal should I use, do you? There's one open, you just step right up to that motherfucker and unzip your trousers, don't you? Right? And then you're usually smart enough to put your dick in before you zip it back up. Every once in a while I'm in the bathroom and somebody doesn't do that, and you can hear them. Ah! And then they try to act like nothing happened, Oh, it's nothing, because I always go, you want me to unzip that for you? And they're like, ah! No, don't help me, please. They'd rather sit there in pain for the rest of their life. Now, the thing is not only do you plan your day, but you have to plan your life. Think about that. Now, are we going to trust the force and switch from words like I need? Because come on, you don't need to get anything done. You could just die, and then you wouldn't have any problem with any of that shit. What do you think existentialists are? Being and nothingness. You know the guy that wrote that book wasn't any fun at a party. He's not the kind of guy you want to date, right? Being and nothingness. Hey, it's nothingness then being. Anyone knows that. See, at one time there was nothing in the universe. It was just empty. And suddenly there was this big bang, boom, and everything spread all over the fucking universe. Right? I love that theory. Because you know what it means? It means everything and everyone is made out of stardust. And I love that concept. Because once you realize you're made out of stardust, you can stop worrying about everything and realize there's something inside you that will tell you things about how to do it. If I trust you, you should trust you, because I'm usually right, and you're usually not there when the decision is made. See, once you start laughing about it, you have to change it then. That's the law. So tomorrow when you plan your day, are you going to go, what do I need to get done? Try with what am I going to do and what else am I going to find along the way that's going to make things better and interesting. Otherwise you get too caught up in trying to follow pictures, and you start walking over money. I find it all over the fucking place. It just absolutely amazes me. It's laying all over the place. Every country I go to. India is a starving country. I mean, they have one of the worst economies. It's getting better. But there are so many people that live at such basic, just barely staying alive, living in coffee shacks. Some people live in cardboard boxes. And I walk down the main street of the marketplace and find money all over the fucking place laying on the ground. Coins, bills, and, granted that their money isn't worth that much, but, neither is the Italian money. To get a wheelbarrow and go down and buy some shoes. I can't believe that when I went in a place and they told me it was 12 million lira. Excuse me. I looked at them and I said, I'm going to pay $12 million for something? And they went, no, it's lira. And I said, why don't you knock some of these zeros off, It'd be a better sales pitch if you said it was 12 something than 12 million somethings, Mexico finally did that. They knocked a zero off. I think that's a great idea. It used to be 9,000 lira to the dollar, and then they knocked a zero off. Me, I'd have knocked a couple off and then acted like it was never that way. Oh, no, it's always been this way. Mexico is really, I hope the economy blooms. I'm hoping they open the borders between all these countries and stop this nonsense. The U.S. spends $1 zillion to keep out illegal aliens, and then they complain they have nobody to work anywhere. Makes all the sense in the world. They go, but if we just let these people in, they'll take jobs. And I go, right, that's probably what they'll do. And they go, but they're taking those jobs away from us. And I say, who's us? I got a job. You don't got a job and they're going to take your job away? And how could they take your job away? By doing it better? And they say, well, they might do it cheaper. They might do it faster. Yeah, they might that, and the world might come apart at the molecules and fall into the sun. But so what? You're not going to have freedom in a country if you don't have freedom to a country. And this is the one thing that I believe is the more we get rid of all of these stupid artificial barriers, the sooner we'll all be better off. They keep setting things. Russia stopped being control of all these countries and they immediately attacked each other, right? And started talking about racial purity. I think we should have just dropped mirrors, not bombs. Racial purity. Excuse me, read a little bit about genetics, okay? Inbreeding does not produce, racial superiority. Excuse me, even Darwin figured that out. It is not by taking two of each animal and breeding them and breeding them and breeding them and then just taking two more and killing all the rest and breeding those together that you end up with anything other than big long noses, huge fucking ears, and a lack of teeth. Right? If you doubt that, go to Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. People say, do you ever teach in the Midwest? And I go, not if I can fucking help it. I went to Little Rock, Arkansas one time and taught a seminar. And all I could hear is dueling banjos. Da-da-dang-dang-dang, da-da-dang-dang-dang. People were marrying their farm animals in that country. It just scared the crap out of me. People came up and asked me questions, and I could tell they weren't really listening because they come up and they said, "That's a reframing technique you showed us. It's marvelous." And they'd say, "I have just one question." And I go, "Yes." And they go, "Can you do this in people's homes?" And I went, "Nope. Next question." You have a mouth, you can do it pretty much anywhere, I would think. Not them. Their education taught them. There are things you can do in your office and you can't do when you go into people's homes because we have a book, right? And in the book, because he was a social worker, these things you can do in your office. You can use these therapeutic things in your office, and these things are not therapeutic techniques you can use inside of people's homes. And this guy thought it's because they wouldn't work in people's homes. He was a PhD psychologist and a psychiatric social worker. He had 17 years of college under his belt. And this looked at me straight in the idea. He was a professor at the school that hired me. And he looked me straight in the eye, and I couldn't figure out his question because I kept saying, well, wait a minute, what would stop you from doing it in people's homes? He goes, because the book says so. Book says right here not to be done in people's homes. And I said, you don't think you do it in people's homes because it won't work? And he went, well, why else would they tell you not to do it there? And I said, maybe because it's too personal, right? That if they start doing this in people's homes, that it could cause family things. You don't want to go in and say bad things about other family members while they're there, especially if you're not going to feel that way in a couple of hours, and if you do certain things in people's family homes, it also has to do with the economics of when they want you there and when they don't. Otherwise, you'd travel around and go in people's homes and make their lives better. How's the system going to last if you do that? How are people going to become dependent? In the U.S., they put people on welfare and then made it so that, if they went out and tried to find a job and got child care with a job, they wouldn't get as much money as if they got from welfare. That was a very bad move. There ended up being 3 and 4 generations of people who hadn't worked. And the only way they could increase their income was by having more children, right? This seems to me structurally to just be insane. We should be giving them huge bonuses when they find a job, not cutting off their benefits. This is like if they succeed at going out and getting a job, we should be providing them child care, right? So that once they got far enough up in that job, then they could afford child care. We shouldn't be taking away all of their dental benefits and all their health benefits and all of these things. This is absolutely stupid. I mean, to me, the one thing you want to do is always aim it so you reward yourself for success. This is why I won't work by the hour. Because if you get paid by the hour, you get paid to fail. On the other hand, if you get paid by how much better you're succeeding and make people feel, well, then it becomes a good thing, because then you learn to do things in 5 minutes. Because you don't have to spend fucking 5 years doing it in order to make money. You know, somebody said, how do you stay in business? And I said, it's really simple. There is no shortage of nuts. There's plenty of those, and as soon as people start talking to each other about how you did something easily and quickly, they tell all their friends, and they start coming in. Psychiatrists, see it happen to the patient. Almost every psychiatrist that referred me patients came to me for treatment. Because I did things that they didn't see could be done, and they always came to me secretly. And then I would put a big billboard and put it up in the hospital. Treated so-and-so on this date. Look at the fucking problem this guy had for 12 years and didn't tell anybody. Isn't this fucking hypocritical? I wouldn't put it up. I'd just tell them about it. That was enough. They go, you wouldn't really do that. Of course I would. Unless you do something better. Because I think people who, especially working with people in mental hospitals, have an obligation to get them out of there. And I don't want to hear any of this. They can't be treated. The client resists you. Look, you're the one with the key. You can do any fucking thing you want to them. Find a way to straighten their ass up. Get them out, get them a job, and get them back in the world, and let them have a life that's worth having. Timothy Leary treated prisoners in hospitals with LSD and proved scientifically with double-blind studies and control groups that prisoners that sat around and tripped with him, a few times, were 80% less likely to go back into prison. That's a pretty good figure, 80%. So what did they do? They attacked him. He was a PhD psychologist finding something that really worked. And for the rest of his life, everybody said, LSD guru Timothy Leary. He wasn't an LSD guru. He hadn't done LSD research in years and years and years. He got into computers, he got into all kinds of stuff. But he knew enough about people to know that when you're tripping, you really like tripping in nice places. The idea of tripping back into prison after you've seen things big and bright and colorful and had a change of mind doesn't seem like so much fun. And the idea of robbing people doesn't seem so pleasant anymore. We harden our criminals and make them worse. This is stupid. And it's also stupid to do it to yourself. How you doing, Ed?
Pretty well.
Anything I can do for you while I'm here? Never mind. I gave you your chance. Yeah, no, go ahead.
The stuff around creativity, I want to write creatively.
You want to write creatively?
Yeah.
Does anything stop you from doing that?
Doesn't actually stop me, but I want to do it better.
How would you know if you did it better?
It
Oh, right there. Oh, and where were the other pictures on the other side? What?
slightly from
Oh, okay. But those, the ones that are the more creatively ones? Let's see. You even look better when you look up there. Go into the light, Ed. Go into the light. That really is the window of opportunity. Now think about what you're going to write and take a look up there. Close your eyes now. That's right. That's right. And look up there and begin to compose inside your mind. You might find it easier this time. Remember, everything inside your mind has got its own organization. People are truly individuals when it comes to what they do inside their head. Some of it is wonderful and some of it's stupid and they shouldn't do it anymore. Don't keep giggling, Nick. Get to fucking work. Clean that crap up. If you do it when you're your age, you won't have to go through the shit that I went through in my life. I made so many dumb mistakes over and over and over again. You think you guys had nasty internal dialogue. Could you imagine what I could do? Jiminy cricket, I was so hard on myself, it was unbelievable. You think you guys knew about depression? I could make depression so deep it came out the other side of the earth. But I got myself out of it. And I built machines to make myself feel better and to make it so I was at ease. You know, I was so tense that when I went to jail, I scared the prisoners. You know, I was arrested and I was put in county jail, and everybody stayed away from me. And after I'd been in for a while and I made a couple friends, I said, "Come, you guys were so standoffish at first." And they went, "We looked at you and you scared us. You were just tension. You looked like you were going to explode or something." They said, you know, really volatile people, you know. They said, we try to stay away from them because suddenly they explode, you know, and they kill somebody. And I went, kill somebody? I hadn't thought about that. Kill somebody, yes, that's it. They'll kill somebody. And they started going, oh, God, what have I done? And I went, just kidding, God, that's too serious, you know. But then I got arrested. I got arrested for what I did with a policeman. I made too many jokes at the wrong time. It was like he had trouble. Apparently he tried to catch me 3 or 4 times. And I didn't even know he was back there. I would drive down the same place when I would go home, and I drove really fast. And I had a car that I had kind of modified a bit. I had a nitrix burner in it, you know, little things like that. You know, when you pull a nitrix burner, you know, the thing accelerates at 100 miles per hour. And so anytime I saw a red light behind me, I just opened the glove box and pressed the button. And the car would slide sideways and do 200 miles an hour. And plus I had a big engine, and I bored out the thing, and I had so much power. And the police their budgets got less and less and less in the U.S., you know. They're driving like old Volkswagens now. The only way they can catch you is to call ahead have a helicopter track you down. These chases in L.A. used to take 5 minutes, and now they're chasing people for hours and hours and hours. They still haven't figured out what they should do is put big electromagnets on the front of police cars so that when they're driving along, they can generate electromagnetic energy. And then all I have to do is turn a switch on and bump into the car and then slow to a stop. You know, I made this recommendation, by the way, because I thought these chases are dangerous. They're going to kill pedestrians. And they looked at me and they said, that's ridiculous. It could never happen, right? And behind the person I was telling, who was captain of a police department in Miami, we were sitting there. We were outside of a junkyard. And this big electromagnet came around and picked up a car and went and dropped it into this big pit, right? And I kept watching it do that because that's where I got the idea. And I turned around and I looked at him and I said, oh, look at that. And he looked around and he looked at that and he goes, yeah. He goes, I've seen that before. He says, what are we going to do, chase him with a crane? And I went, you're not listening. I said, do you know how an electromagnet is made? And he went, no. I said, you just take something and coil wire up inside of it like this, and then you pour electricity through it in a particular way, and it builds up a magnetic charge. You know, because you can either build up the charge as heat or you can build it up as magnetism, depending upon how you do it. And I said, so yes, they're a little bit heavy, but they're not that heavy that you couldn't make the grill of a car an electromagnet. And the fact that the wheels are going around seems to me like you got a built-in turbine, right? You could generate fantastic amounts of electricity, and it doesn't really take that much because there's these cool little things they have now that take a small amount of electricity and build it way up. And you guys have ever seen those zapper things that people electrocute each other with for protection? You seen those things? They go like that, and they taser things, stuff like that. They run on a 9-volt battery, and they generate 5,000 volts. Now, if you put those in the police cars, then the police cars could not only pull the thing up, then, you know, when the guy got out, you could shoot an electric field and destabilize him. You wouldn't have to chase after him. I always see on cops them running after people. That's so silly. You know, they just need some modern weapons. Positive, negative ion guns will charge anything up to 5,000 volts at roughly anywhere up to 100 yards. There's all kinds of things. Pain field generators, something the size of a package of cigarettes. You press a button, point it at something, and every nerve inside of it will be in pain. Drops people to the ground. They've been around since the Vietnam War. I have one. I use it for cats. Well, they get in the garbage can, you know, and so I just open the window and go, and the cats go, yeah, and run away. But, you know, it doesn't hurt them. It just makes it so that they're in pain. They go, that's the worst garbage can I've ever been around. Damn, we're not coming back here no more. But there's always more cats. That's one of the things, you know. There are cats everywhere. Just like there are rats everywhere in the city. Most of them have law offices. So, anything else, anybody here? We're rolling around. Nothing else?
I'll look at my back, Richard.
What?
I'll look at my back.
I've seen you back.
Yeah, I got some vertebrae there now.
Oh, well, let's play a game here. Let's play the game and see if we can move them around easily. Here. Got to sit up right on the edge of the chair. Okay, a little bit more forward. That's okay. You got some tight muscles, I'll tell you that. You know, you don't need to do that. You only tighten them when you're using them. See, if you take a muscle and you pull it to the full length of its extension, it's cool because it'll start relaxing all by itself. Then you just put your finger on it and go like that. See, I loosen my hand and the muscle on his back relaxes because the brain knows what that means. Isn't that cool?
I'm supposed to be an Alexander teacher.
You are an Alexander teacher.
Yeah.
Just Alexander didn't take all the lessons from Moshe.
Yeah.
He went off and started his own thing. And Alexander techniques are very visual. You use lots and lots of visualization. And when I find when working on a body, if you're teaching people movement, visualization is really useful. But if you want to get down to the raw bones of making a muscle relax, then visualizing isn't really going to help. The best thing that helps is just fucking relaxing. You know, you do things, you go inside your head and say the word soften. And then if you say it softly, the softer you say it, the more it relaxes. You got lots of tension. I can't seem to find anything that's really out. Yeah. You have actually a pretty good spine as far as spines go. You ought to see mine. I have vertebrae that spin in circles. I've cracked my ribs so many times and unattenuated them and all kinds of stuff. I'm just so fucking accident prone most of the time. See what happens when you don't pay attention, you know, and you should not operate heavy machinery. Plus, I always have the unexpected things happen to me. I'm the guy that I was in a building once and I was looking for a restroom and I opened a door and stepped through and the side of the building was gone. There was nothing on there. They had chopped one building off another and they just had a door. It wasn't even locked. I stepped outside and it was like 16-story drop. I was hanging onto the door handle, right? And as I pulled myself up, the hinges came off. You know, and it was my fault, but I got back in, but the damn door fell down 16 stories and landed on a Mercedes-Benz. Went right through the fucking roof. I mean, the corner of it hit first, went right through the roof. And I went back in the office, and because I was seeing a patient of this shrink, and I asked him, I said, where do you park? And he said, right around back. And I said, do you have a Mercedes? And he went, oh, I have a beautiful Mercedes. He said, you know, it's brand new. I've only had it a week. And I went, cool. I said, I have to go now. I'll take the patient with me. I'll take him home and send him back. This is takeout therapy. Huh? That's not a vertebrae out. That's an unattenuated rib. It's a rib that doesn't pay attention. You know, where the ribs meet your spine, they just attenuate. You know, they're not actually attached. It's like a press fit. They slip in, and sometimes what they do is they slip out a little bit, and the corner of it pokes you in the muscle. Who is it?
Sorry.
Okay. I tell you what I want you to do here, Harris. Just bend over at the waist slightly. Take a breath and just relax. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. Let your head go forward. Just kind of go limp and kind of go over that way so it'll be easy. See, otherwise it hurts when you put stuff like this back in. You have to snap stuff, and then the muscles don't learn nothing. Feel that? That's a good one. Okay, just lean back like this, okay? Straighten up slowly. That's right. Here we go. That's It's nice. See, no big pop, nothing. It just works.
A very helpful chiropractor about 7 years ago pointed out
Doesn't surprise me. They're only interested in the spine. Fuck your ribs.
that T1, 2, and 3 were kind of a bit bent over, and there were kind of gaps between them at the back.
Yeah, that happens. But then all you have to do is straighten them out. You know, you don't have to bang them around and twist the ribs and stuff. Actually, if you have people bend over and you just press them the opposite way with the ribs are out, put your hand on the opposite shoulder, and you let them straighten up, they'll pop right in on their own. You don't have to do nothing. But if they lay you down on your stomach, it compresses your spine. And it makes them really hard. It takes 1,500 pounds of pressure to pop a vertebrae in if you're laying on your stomach. If you're bent over at the waist, it takes about an ounce. That's why I do it that way. That's not why. So it doesn't have the trauma. No big snap. None of that stuff. Okay, go ahead. Bend over. Right at the waist. Just relax. It's okay. See, it spreads out all the vertebrae. Right. Say like this one here is little. Like that. Okay. Then just come up slowly. That's right. There you go. That's right. Keep coming up. Just take a deep breath. That's it. There it goes. See? Nice and straight now. No traumatic experience. See, we like things the easy way. I studied all the body works. I did chiropractics. I did all that shit. Too sloppy for me. They give you, when you have to use a machine to do things, you know, some things like eye laser surgery, I think machine is in order. But but working with muscles in the spine, you know, I think, you know, these fucking vertebrae are this fucking big. If you can't feel those fucking things, you're in trouble. They go, we need x-rays. Yeah, right. I've been x-rayed so many times. I must glow in the dark. I had those fucking barium tests. I drank radiation milkshakes, for God's sake. Then they stuck a hose up my ass and pumped me full of radioactive liquid. How's Michael doing?
Yeah, he's good.
Good. I worry about him sometimes. We do so many seminars in a row sometimes, especially Michael and I. We just do them. And Paul does seminars and he does shows in between. But you know, oh yeah, while we're doing the seminars, and he'll come in after a couple of weeks. Paul look at me like this, and I go, are you teaching this morning? And he goes, yeah, I already did. I did. I go, what did you teach? And he goes, well, I'll have to ask somebody. He goes, I'm off to Bristol. And I go, what's in Bristol? He goes, oh, we're doing the show down there. And I said, but don't you have to teach in the morning again? He goes, oh, no problem. Right. By the end of 3 weeks, you know, he's just, his eyes are going this way. At least one of them, the other's going the other way. And of course, for all the slack that we do, especially like when I was sick for a while there, I couldn't really work for long hours at all. And Michael picks up all the slack, you know. And about 2 weeks into a seminar once, I looked at Michael, and he looked like he'd been dragged behind a bus. He was it was like, because he's not usually disheveled, but he was kind of disheveled. And he looked at me, and he had like rings under his eyes. And I said, Michael, go home. Rest. I said, I'll just take care of the afternoon. Just go home. He goes, I can't leave. And I said, you have to go rest. And he went, oh, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. And he went back, and he came back the next day, and he said, I said, how was your afternoon? And he goes, I don't know. I just went home and took a little nap. Woke up about 10 minutes ago.
It's tighter in there than I imagined it ever could have been.
What?
That's tighter in there than I ever imagined it could have been.
Well, that's because it's a feeling, not a picture.
Well, there's the thought, yeah. No, I knew there was stuff wrong with it, but it's not complaining that much, but it's now saying, there's a problem here.
Fucking intellectuals, man. Yeah. That's my job. I'll do the talking here. So anybody else got anything while I'm doing this? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm scared of mice and cockroaches and things that fly at me.
The things that fly at you, it's probably a good idea. Especially if they're like 747s and stuff like that. But
Insects.
insects, oh yeah, insects. I don't like insects much either. And the thing is if you make the right noise, they won't. When they start to go, zzz, I go, zzz. They hate that when you do that. But yeah, but mice scare you, right?
Mice, yeah.
When you see them, do you feel terror?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just checking. Because there's some people just have anxiety about them. And if
I
I'm
get petrified.
petrified. Well, that must be hard. Then the mice can come and climb up your leg and bite you in the balls.
They could do. Yeah.
Think about it. I just like to see if it really is a phobia or not, and I think you qualify.
They haven't tried yet.
They will. They're all waiting. They're outside there in the hall. These mice work for me. I did something which I don't think anybody's ever done. There were rats in the neighborhood where I lived in the city, so I trained them to do things. Like go in other people's houses and get stuff, bring it to me. I had all the rats trained. All you have to do is give them cheese. They'll do anything for cheese. They're really funny. They love bread, oatmeal. Love oatmeal if you put lots of sugar on it. Raisins, all kinds of stuff, I gave them tons of food, but see, I didn't give it to them at my house. I waited till my next door neighbor. I had a terrible next door neighbor. I had this Christian fucker, And some Christians are just fine, but this guy was a Christian fucker right across the board. Every fucking thing he did, he justified by, God this and God that, and everything I did was bad, He would always go, "You people," and I went, "What do you mean, us people?" And he said, "Yeah, you don't think I've seen that Star of David you wear?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, I would hope you would see it. The fucking thing is 3 inches big. And he said, "I know what that means." He says, "And I know what you people are up to." And I said, "Oh, no, you don't." He said, "I know the conspiracy." So since he said I had to conspire, I did. So I started feeding all the rats at his house. He would go away, and I used to be a burglar, so I knew all about opening doors. That was part of the training I got growing up. So I'd just go in his house, and I'd because I had rats trained, they'd follow me pretty much anywhere. I was like the Pied Piper. I came out because I'd been feeding them for so long. Tried to make a deal. I'll give you food, you stay out of the fucking house. So I'd feed them in the backyard, but then I came out, and they followed me all, and I went into the other guy's house, There wasn't many, just 100, 200 of them. And, well, first there were just a few, but then they told their friends, And in those days in the U.S., we had something called food commodities. I was in college at the time, and if you didn't have much money, you could go down and the government gave you this thing, and you could go to where they had all this excess food, and to try and keep the price of dairy products up. The government bought massive amounts of really bad cheese. And so I went there and I got tons of cheese and I brought it and I took all the rats. Look, I should have seen the look on people's faces because I walked down the street and all the rats would follow me, And then I'd stop and I'd throw cheese out to all of them. And by the way, they love grapes too. Rats think grapes are just totally great. And so I tried to make up with my neighbor. I bought him some grape plants to plant in his yard, big mature ones so that they would be sure to blossom quickly. But he ended up moving. He had a terrible problem. In the end, he said there were insects and rodents everywhere. So you remember the last time you saw a mouse?
Mm-hmm.
And that it scared you?
Not the last time, funnily enough. It didn't the last time. I mean, I've been trying to work on this. And
Okay.
But I'm not sure if
Well, when was the last time it scared you?
About a year ago.
How many mice have you seen since then?
One.
Really working on it, don't you think?
Well, I've seen a mouse in a cage. That doesn't bother me. It's a mouse in a natural, on a floor, or running about, or behind a fridge or a washing machine, something like that.
But if they're in a cage, they don't scare you?
No, they don't.
That's totally weird. Those cages have holes in them. Sometimes the mice just squeeze right out of the hole and then they run behind your refrigerator. So can you close your eyes and think about the last time you saw one and it scared you? Does it scare you now? Because you may have fixed it already. Or not. Double the size of the image. Do you see yourself in the picture?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're not going to be afraid if you do that. Step inside the picture. Have some fun. They weren't really tense, you just had them in the wrong place. They get inflamed when you do that. They're supposed to be soft. Soft, soft. Yeah. So does it scare you? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, it does. Okay, now, let's try something. When it scares you, where does the fear start in your body?
Yeah.
Here. And where does it move to?
Up.
Up, and then where does it go? How does it stay there? See, typically it moves into a certain position and then it spins around in a circle.
It gets as far as here and then sort of stays there.
Okay, but when it's staying there, it has to move around somehow.
It's moving this way.
In a circle?
Yes.
Cool. All right, let's try something just for the fun of it. By the way, think about spiders and things flying at you, bugs. Do you do the fear in the same way?
I don't fear spiders.
Oh, you're not. Spiders are okay, mice are out. You know, they have unions.
Cockroaches are bad.
Oh, cockroaches, I'm sorry.
Big cockroaches.
Big cockroaches.
Like Vietnamese cockroaches.
Holy shit. I've been there. I know about those. I mean, you can ride these motherfuckers. They are disgusting. It gives me the willies just to think about them. That's right. However, I named them all. I had lots of them where I was staying at the time. I didn't get to stay there very long because I blew it up accidentally. I didn't mean to, but, you know, it was like they said, store your stuff safely. So I thought I was. I put everything in a nice footlocker inside the barracks and stuff. But they said that, and I didn't know you weren't supposed to put the plastique inside of an environment where it could get warm. So when they had heating pipes in the floor, when they heated up the floor, the plastique blew. The barracks were gone. It was my fault. So they made me go home. Great punishment. I like that. If you cut school, they kicked you out. What a deal. Excuse me. Okay, stand up. You almost went for that one. All right, move around a little bit, see how it feels. That's the important part. Relax. Everything's going to be okay. Feel good?
Yeah.
Great. Sit down for a minute. Okay. And remember, whether or not you make pictures of your muscles being tense has nothing to do with whether or not they are. It's not making pictures of your muscles relaxing. You have to just go in and feel it and just say soften, soften, soften. You can't go, my, that's tense, because it will be. Okay, so when you think about cockroaches, where does the feeling start?
Same place. Yeah.
Same place? Move to the same place?
Yes.
Okay, so it spins in the same direction. Which way was that on your head? I'm sorry, I forgot.
This way. I think
So it's going around.
Yeah.
It's going clockwise, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to start in the same place, okay? And what I want you to do is let the feeling come up, only what I want you to do is to spin it counterclockwise and upside down. If you have trouble, let it spin around normally, and then just take it out and flip it over. Pull it back in and spin it around backwards, so it's spinning counterclockwise, or as we like to say, widdershins. In any which way you look at it, if you start spinning it around the other way, then let it come down and right down to where it started. So it's starting going backwards, and now it's going in the opposite direction. Okay, now spin it faster and faster And keep spinning it, and I want you to see inside your mind a mouse running behind the washing machine, one running under the bed, one leaking out of your pillow. And lift up your pillow, and suddenly there's a big fucking cockroach there, and keep it spinning around in the new direction, round and round and round. That's right. Keep it spinning. There you go. Faster and faster. Take a deep breath. It always helps to breathe, otherwise you just keel over fucking dead anyway, and it doesn't matter. That's right. There you go. That's right. Keep it spinning. Spin it faster. Look at cockroaches and mice. Look at women spending money in stores. That's the image I have in my mind now. 6 hours in Selfridges. Oh, God, help me. That's right. There you go. Now, keep it spinning around. Keep the same images inside your mind. Remember, any feeling that you have, you can turn around and spin it the opposite way, and it's going to feel a lot better. Then there's this other thing called relaxation. That's right. Just soften it up a bit. That's right. Then what I want you to do is to begin to think about times you've dealt with things where you looked at something and you went, enough is a fucking enough. Right? There have been a lot of things like that where you just got fucking fed up with something. And add that feeling and spin it around with the other one. Right? And then let that image double in size and get more feeling and let it spin it around. In fact, spin it around till it starts to spin around your whole body. A typhoon of being fed up and a typhoon of unfearing. And then when you look at the mice going down there between the washing machine, look at it and go, fuck you, mouse. That feels better, I'll bet, huh? Right, and then look at the cockroach and go, fuck you, cockroach. And then you add to it this, what? There goes another one. By the way, that works with people who bother you in pubs and shit too. You know, you turn around and you go, what? You know, and they'll go, nothing. And you go, you look at them like this and you go. Just the implicit muscle movement will do it after that. Like when they come up and try to talk to you. I found I can get in almost anywhere now. So I just go up to the door and I go, I want to come in here and watch the show. It's that twitch. I learned that from Clint Eastwood. He taught me how to do that. It's really fun, too, when that eye starts flickering on the side and you get that twitch like that. You go, you have a very nice throat. It's long and beautiful. Can I go inside now? And they'll go, are you on the list? And I go, I'm on many lists.
You're not coming in here. Outside.
Only once, though, dear. Only once. Because the whole time I'm going to be breathing at the same rate as this person. And I'm going to be inside thinking, fear, fear, fear. Don't tell him no. If you tell him no, he'll kill you. I say, I don't own this place. Fuck it, let him in. So you keep that going in your mind, and pretty soon they look at you and they go, well, I don't own the place. Come on in. Fuck it, I don't care. And I go, tell them to let him in. Let him in. These are not the ones we want. They can go now. These are not the ones we want. You can go now. The Force is not with you, Obi-Wan. How does that feel?
Feels a lot better.
Cool. All right, think about a cockroach now, climbing up your chest. Look down, and what do you say to the cockroach?
Fuck off.
You know, cockroaches come in many forms, too. If you know what I mean. I have some relatives that fall in that category. Every time they come over my house, I know what they're doing there. I know they came to eat everything in the house, steal everything that's not nailed down, and then they want to borrow money and get paid for it. You know, It's like, because Paul always comes over and goes, your sister called. And I went, did you hang up the phone? She goes, well, I talked to her for a while. She's on her way to San Francisco. She wondered, and I say, no. And she knows better than to call me, right, stuff. But as she's grown older, she's become a lot better person. Because she came over and stayed for a week one time. But she slept the whole time, you know. She said she didn't realize how tired she had been. So she just slept on the couch in my office while I was working on a book, you know. And I read parts of the non-existent book to her. You know, and then she stopped stealing things, which was good. And now she's devoted her life to running a no-kill shelter for animals, which is something, because I don't think they should kill animals just because their owners are irresponsible. I think they should kill the owners. Makes more fucking sense to me, you know. Because, I mean, don't most of you, how many of you here have a dog? Don't you want to be the person your dog thinks you are? Doesn't your dog think you're really wonderful? Looks at you with those admiring eyes. He could do anything, you know. How many of you have cats, you know? Because cats don't give a fuck about you. They go, you love this couch. But they're sweet sometimes. They sit on your lap and purr while you pet them and then claw your fucking leg up. My daughter has a Siamese cat, which are particularly psychotic, you know. And it does things like it purrs and rubs up against people and then smiles, and when they bend over, she bites their face. But she's been around my daughter, what can I say? So what happens when you think about mice now? Nothing, which is what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to look at it and go, mouse, right? And then what you do is you get one of those nice cage things and you put cheese in there and you catch it. You can catch all kinds of mice that way. You don't have to poison them, because if you poison them, you know, they'll eat the poison and go and then eat stuff in your food. And then when you eat the food, then you'll die. So that's really a bad deal. You know, a lot of people do that. And the traps are cruel and harmful to the mice. And there's so many places that you could put them. You know, you get those cages, you get 5 or 10 of those mice in there, you know, and then you put it in somebody's house, let them all go, like your relative's house. They start whole colonies inside the house, especially if you give them good places. You know, like introduce them to a lingerie drawer or something. These are useful animals. And cockroaches, you know, you can take one cockroach and put it in a house and there'll be 1 million within 2 weeks. Those things can breed and multiply. They're impervious to nuclear attacks. They could live through anything. I saw parts of the forest incinerated, just incinerated, with what we refer to as a defoliant, but it's actually just a lethal killing thing. And you'd go in and there wouldn't be a blade of grass left and there would be cockroaches walking around. You go, a little fire, I feel tan. So I tell you what we're going to do. We should take a little break. Because time is running out. So if there's anything else important, you better get it up in the front of your mind and then put it in the back of your mind and make sure you change it. There's been enough here, because I want to spend the rest of the day talking to the other part of you. But if there's anything like that, like a little fear of mice, so how can you be afraid of a fucking little thing that big? Fuck it. You know, and cockroaches, you go, ooh, but they're slimy. Yeah, and they crush really easily. Now, snakes are another thing. It's fucking snakes. Some of them can kill you in a total second. There are some poison, and some of them don't even have to bite you. They can spit for 6 yards and hit you right in the eye and kill you. When I was in Africa, I mean, my Land Rover got attacked by a snake, and the snake won. I mean, this big fucking thing came out in a hooded thing like this, you know. I mean, and it came up and it reared back and it bit the side of the Jeep, just struck it, put a fucking dent in it about this fucking big, you know. And I was sitting in the Land Rover and I went, this thing only has a canvas roof, man. You know, and then it got up and it looked right at me through the front of the window, up in the front of the hood, and it went, and it spit, and that thing went right where my eye was. And I went, holy crap, what the fuck is this thing? Threw it in reverse and backed up, and the snake went like that. Fortunately, snakes can't go 50, 60 miles an hour, but you really shouldn't do that backwards, because apparently the person coming forwards didn't know about the snake. So I was being followed because there was a caravan of us going, but I didn't give a shit. And my friend who had bought a new Mercedes, same guy too. He moved to Africa, and he invited me to come visit him. You think the guy would have learned his lesson? It was his Jeep too. We were going out into the bush, and when I backed up, when I hit that Mercedes, he flew from the front seat right into the back with the whole seat. He had a seat belt on, but he just took the whole thing into the back because they designed Mercedes so that if there's a collision, the motor will go up and over the roof. And I found out that it actually works. And the snake was still coming, right? And it came up and it started striking the front of the Jeep. It hit the hood, it put big fucking dents in it. It was really pissed off about something, right? I don't know what the fuck it was, but I wasn't getting out of that Jeep, right? And meanwhile, the other guy, I looked in the rearview mirror, was laying, and the window was knocked out of the car too. I thought, he's in deep crap because I'm getting out of here. Right, so I pulled forward, and when I did it kind of slowly so the snake could go under the car. And when I went out like this, the next thing I saw, the snake hit the back of the Jeep, bang, like this, and I mean, loud fucking noise. And I took off, doing as fast as I could in the Jeep, which was pretty good. I probably took out of there doing 80 miles an hour in the dirt, hanging around like this. And I looked in the rearview mirror, and I could see the snake trying to catch up to me, but just couldn't go that fast. So I thought, well, I better help my friend, because he was trapped. He had a seat belt on and a seat laying in the back, and he was just stuck there because the belts didn't come up from the floor. The seat just went to the back seat, so now he's like strapped in. He could barely breathe. I said, so I have to trick this snake, and I should be able to outwit a snake. It can't be that fucking hard. I said, what would snakes be afraid of? And I thought, they have to be afraid of big birds. So I had some cardboard in the back, and I cut out a big fucking bird shaped thing, and I made like a paper airplane, only a really big one, and I put it on the top of the Jeep, and I drove up like this, and just before I got to the snake, I let go, and it went, a big shadow went across the snake, and the snake went, fuck, look at the size of that bird, right, and it went off into the bush, which means it wasn't afraid of me, it was afraid of cardboard. There's a moral to this story. Anyway, you might as well go ahead. Let's take a 15-minute break and get a little air, have something to drink.